If you don't know what you're doing out here in the Southwest in this kind of isolation, if you don't understand that you're supposed to have work and a purpose to every day, you're going to float off into the stratosphere or move very quickly back to an urban center. The first year was a very hard adjustment just to light, just to the amount of light here. So I did make modifications in my studio plan to cut out some light and to reproduce the New York situation of floodlights. I love red. I use a lot of red. I use innumerable tooms of white. I try to dirty down most of the colors that I use, rather than use them in their pure form. You squeeze a tube of color and you see this bright green, and it's just frightening. You know, it's this pure color that somebody mixed up, and you just have to immediately get after it and make it, you know, fight with orange or something. I tend to make all my paintings looking down. It's just a point of view that I've established since living here. I think you don't have that in the city, but living on the hills and ups and downs and stuff. And then being on a ladder so much, I'm starting to have this kind of natural way of not looking at something, but down on it. Say there was a dead cow in the creek once, which there was, mysteriously. I saw the cow from about 40 feet above, and that painting became Gallisdale Creek. So I've taken what I learned outside and brought it into these interiors. And now that's pretty much what I want to do with them. And the studio painting became extremely green, but that was out of the preceding body of work, the domino paintings, where I felt free to take green right out of a landscape context into any operation I cared to. Green became a very exciting event. Felt fresh. The red is just like part of my internal palette, a warm tone. And then my other favorite deal is dirty white, because it would be too bright and colorful. It's not my nature. There's got to be traces of 15-year-old turpentine in those cans. Every painting carries through the same brushes and the same moves as the last painting. But again, if I need a clear color, and I don't see that any of my cans are going to give me anything but, you know, the dirty down, I'll start a new can and actually once in a while wash a brush, so it will be free of old colors. I was a very social kid up through college, past college. And no, and I don't think anybody that knew me in high school or college would ever have thought that I would have been successful at anything, much less spending 80% of my life alone in a white room making work. It's odd. There was a wonderful world in the early 70s. Artists work with dancers. It was very mixed up. It was very interdisciplinary. I performed with Joan Jonas, and that was so much fun. And I had studied painting. I was interested in painting. When I got a studio and first started painting, and then I started getting a little attention for my work, and I had a show, and I sold a painting. So then I started making more paintings, trying to find out my identity, and when I stumbled on the horse, I went, okay, this can be my Jasper John flag. This can be nothing to me because I don't like horses. I can draw a line through it, make it flat. I can take all the things that I've learned in the last couple of years and negate painting as much as possible in terms of illusionism and shadow and composition and stuff. And that was my run from 73 or 4 to 80. And that's what I guess I made my reputation on, because they were acceptable as paintings and acceptable as not going backwards. But most artists really wish they had a series where one painting would lead to the next painting and it would be a variation on it, and that's what happened in my early career, the horses. But the paintings are more of a battle to satisfy myself with now, and I do not have a sense of series. As you see here, there's 2 snake paintings, 2 paintings that are about this idea I had called meaningless gestures, and 2 paintings that are a reflection of my domestic situation in the house there. And each of them, the second painting seems to complete the series, which is weird, because I'd like to get a hold of something and be on that idea for a couple of years at least, but that's not happening at the moment. I'm able to work through periods when there's no real important idea in my mind. I can draw, I can learn to make a clay pot. At least I find some reason to work just about every day, because the block is the terriblest. It's just terrible. It's terrible to have a couple of months where you can't, you're disheartened because you think everything stinks in your studio. It happens. If you're not in your studio physically most every day, you've denied the possibility of anything happening. So even if you're reading a detective novel, you should be there. And then sometimes you just throw your book down on the floor, march up to a painting and say, something's wrong here, and I'm, pull the table over, throw my painting shirt on, and get going. And sometimes hours pass, and I'm working. But I almost always do something before I go in the house to watch the news. I mean, even if I put a wrong stroke on something or change a contour, and that's the only stroke I did, I do it, just to have done some work that day. No, I think I'm remarkably lucky to be on this piece of land. It's not that I think any special thoughts. It's just, I walk usually about 45 minutes. It's just completely part of my pattern. And sometimes I walk fast with exercise in mind, and sometimes I amble. It's a wonderful place to walk. There's 3 or 4 different terrains to walk in. It's meditative. I'm always looking at the ground to look for a bead or an arrowhead or what seems to be 2 pieces of the same pot. If you see, I think that piece goes there. That one definitely goes there. So it's a small piece of an 11th or 12th century pot. I keep looking at this painting and thinking, why can't I just nail it? Just make it be whatever it's supposed to be and move on. So it's constant reviewing, and I can't say what makes me say that's wrong. that stays, that goes, this should be longer. It's sitting there and looking and going, I have to do something. And it had to be done with color. This one's been bugging me it's been around the studio for 4 or 5 months, on and off, reworked. And I kept thinking, oh, it's okay. I'm not that interested anymore in doing this, so it's okay. But it simply wasn't. And it's closer, I think, now to where I can leave it. There's very few paintings that come fast and sharp. Like the small snake painting in there was 2 days, 3 days. And I don't want to touch it. It is what it is, and I like it. I'm not really a less is more person, but I figure a hand on a table suggests a human being. I don't want to get too literal about things. I want the viewer to be able to do the work, too. I find a dragonfly beautiful, and a snake beautiful. Yeah, many things beautiful. But it's not a goal to try for it or expect to achieve it in my own work. I'm trying for, let's take truth. Some kind of truth about some kind of thing.
To learn more about Art21, Art in the 21st Century, and to download the free Educator's Guide, please visit PBS online at pbs.org. Art21, Art in the 21st Century is available on videocassette or with additional features on DVD. The companion book to the program is also available. To order, call PBS Home Video at 1-800-PLAY-PBS.